What's up, everybody? How's it going? It is another wonderful Saturday, so hopefully everything is going great on your side. My name is Taj, hang out with the Wolf Bitcoin crew, of course. About to dive into some of the amazing things that's happening in the world of Bitcoin. So hopefully you are having an amazing weekend, and I appreciate you hanging out with me on a Saturday evening. And those of you that are tuning in for the very first time, this is the show in which we highlight all the amazing things that's happening within the Bitcoin ecosystem. We like to highlight some of the positive, feel good stories. We like to dive into the circular economies that are happening and being built all around the world. But also, we like to highlight the amazing tech that enables people boots on the ground to do these things in their local communities. And we're kicking this story off in an unusual place today, which happens to be Instagram, of all places, right? Why on earth would I start off on Instagram? Well, those of you that are tired of all the crazy things that are happening on the news, maybe you just want to dive into a different ecosystem or look on some happy thoughts. So, what's happening here on the Bitcoin jungle, this particular page here on Instagram, which I'm going to show you actually three pages that are doing some amazing things. So, if you didn't think that Bitcoin isn't being adopted and highlighted on any other place other than on X, well, that's not necessarily the case. So if you have friends that you're trying to orange pill and you're trying to show all this amazing stuff too, but let's say they're not on X, they're not on YouTube, they're not on whatever, you can just seek out various creators and communities that are building on certain platforms and highlighting things that they do, because most communities are on multiple platforms. They have somebody within the community that likes Instagram, they have somebody in the community that likes X, YouTube, so forth. There's bloggers, podcasters, whatever it might be, and they'll highlight within the strengths of their communities, unlike an individual creator who might just stick to one platform and then have the team just repurpose it. You have unique things going out. But anyways, going back to Bitcoin Jungle, this is a community that is in Costa Rica. Going to highlight some things that they're doing there, which I think is absolutely amazing. I'm going to just play this little clip off of the page, and let's see here. There we go. I think that's just really cool stuff there. Of course, this is Costa Rica. And if you just go to the page, besides the fact that this scenery, this nice water, the rolling mountains, and all this stuff isn't cool itself, the orange dirt that, reminds us of Bitcoin. But if you go to the page, well, first of all, this particular post will highlight all the amazing things that's actually happening, tell you the exact location of where they are in Costa Rica and so forth, showing you that they're highlighting education and doing all these different things and building the circular economy. But also, if you just scroll down to the page, and pardon me, I'm not an Instagram native. However, I am kind of blown away by how just cool this page is. So some amazing things that we've actually highlighted on the show already, such as this fellow right here who bought some bananas in the market using a Bitcoin ring. His wallet is on the ring. I thought that was really cool. I highlighted that. But also just various things that's happening within the community. There's some amazing shots. I mean, this is just beautiful. Of course, there in the jungles of Costa Rica, there are Bitcoiners. And look at that breathtaking view right there. That's absolutely amazing to me. So there's Bitcoin education, circular economies being built in the jungles of Costa Rica. And if I don't know, or if that isn't a beautiful scene right there, and really just zen, and regardless of what's happening in the world, that just makes you feel good. Well, I don't know what will, because that is an amazing scene. So just take a look at that. Just check out all the amazing things that's happening with Bitcoin Jungle. This is there in Costa Rica, but also there is another page which is very interesting. So this is Bitfasi, which is an initiative there in Ghana. Now, this is very interesting in the sense that they're doing lots of education, all sorts of different things, but just highlighting a few things that they're doing. Initiatives such as educating women, bringing them on, teaching them about circular economies and so forth within their local communities. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this, right? It's one thing to be Bitcoiners that are into the tech, into the money, and screaming about all the problems of the world and so on. But it's a completely different thing when you're just touching the local people in your communities. That's why I find it valuable to highlight these things on this particular show. And also, if you want to just check out some of these communities, just search for it. Of course, Bitfasi. They're on multiple platforms, but just because I'm here on Instagram already, I'll just highlight their Instagram page, just showing all the amazing things they're talking about, providing accessibility. They're hosting initiatives and sessions that actually teach people to build their skills, their financial literacy, which is very important. Then, of course, equipping participants in the knowledge and tools of self custody, because that's one thing which is just lacking in general. Most people that are saying, yeah, I'm into Bitcoin and so on, they really mean that they are hosting their Bitcoin on Coinbase or Binance or some such centralized exchange. And they have never actually taken self custody of it. As we always say, not your keys, not your sats. But at the end of the day, that it is right here. They're teaching people about all these amazing things and enhancing their wealth building and creating sustainable local networks, which I think is just the beautiful, the sauce of you, if you will, of these various communities, is because they're locally invested in their communities. And it's not just Bitcoin, this amazing money, the future. This is people, boots on the ground, impacted by how the devaluation of their local currency and how just the excessive printing in every single government, we're not pointing fingers at one particular government, but just around the world, has really failed the people. And because they're emotionally tied to their communities, they're doing all these initiatives, volunteering and teaching people. So again, just all these amazing things that are being highlighted on their page. Of course, not as necessarily aesthetically pleasing as the jungles of Costa Rica, but you can click on the various posts that they do have here, learn about the various initiatives, and just checking this out right here. This is actually Ethiopia, this picture right here. Little known fact, we highlighted on a previous episode. Those of you that are just tuning in, we've been doing this show now since the beginning of the year, really. So just scroll back every single Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Just check out the Good Bit Show. We've been highlighting this. And one of them, the trivia, was that Ethiopia, believe it or not, is in, I believe, the top 8. I think they're the 8th ranked Bitcoin adoption country, excuse me, as far as people that are using and adopting and really getting into the trenches and using this stuff. Ethiopia, yes, Ethiopia is up there. So, anyways, check out all these amazing things that are being posted. And let's check out one more page, of course. This is another community, which is Bitcoin Data, which is also on X and other platforms as well. But two, again, just showing you that, hey, even on Instagram, there are communities that are showing people or highlighting people that are adopting Bitcoin. Well, anyways, Bitcoin Data really focused on the women, and they are in Kenya. So this particular one right here, they're highlighting all these amazing things. Of course, showing them how to run businesses, social media, how to use Bitcoin, of course, financial literacy, and all these various things are all being highlighted in these various communities. And of course, just seeing the amazing people, I think is just what makes it so beautiful. You see these workshops right here, engaged rooms full of people learning about Bitcoin. And I just think it's just absolutely amazing. They're happy to take these photos. They're holding up the logo. They're just having a really good time, smiles and everything. These are people who have just learned about Bitcoin. They're adopting Bitcoin at this particular workshop. But most importantly, they're going to go out in the real world, get off the internet, if you will, and they're going to connect with their local businesses, the local merchants, and so on, and their friends and family, get them onto this Bitcoin network. And as a result of that, real impact, real people all around the world because of Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the page again and just highlighting some of the positive things that you will see on this page. And yes, lots of workshops, tech speakers, and so on. And just all the amazing people. And again, lots of things that are happening there in Africa, but it's just really cool to see that it's boots on the ground. It's not just money go up on the chart. Let's see, is today a red day or a green day? Like, no, these are people that are out there actually using these skills that they're learning in the real world to make their communities better. And I think it's absolutely amazing that, again, most of these workshops, these organizations, they're operating on volunteers, Bitcoiners from around the world that are helping to chip in, maybe throw some sats here and there. But generally speaking, it is people that just want to see their economies, they want to see their local communities do better. So they put in the time, they put in the effort, and they do so. So just like cleaning up a beach or whatever local initiative, painting a ball ground, actually right down the road from me right now, they're redoing the play field, which is, they have the soccer or the football field here in Jamaica. and a basketball court and a netball court, which is being paved right now. So things like that, different initiatives, even fixing potholes for God's sakes. A lot of places around the world, people in that local community are doing that. I remember here when we had the hurricane, right? All the trees and everything that were cut up and cleared the road, it was actually just volunteers from the community that came out with chainsaws, uh, tractors, and trucks, and pulling things, manual labor. So it's some really cool things what people can do when they just put their mind to it, and they want to make their communities a better place. So, which brings us to this right here, another video. So we're going back to X now. Going to show you this particular page. This is Bitqua, which happens to be in Nigeria. A lot of amazing things, like I said, always highlighting stuff that's happening in Africa. But check out this video from Nigeria. We're gonna take a visit to the market. And the thing that I like about these African Bitcoin videos, a lot of them actually go into the market just like this. They're making the purchases, showing you how the merchants and the customers actually interacting with it, how quick it is using their smartphones. And most importantly, or I wouldn't say most importantly, I would say the interesting thing, the cool thing about it is most of them have soundtracks. They produce their own music. They're singing about Bitcoin, sats, helping out the community, building up circular economies and all these different things. They put it into musical form, and if you notice the guy on there that, the vocals was actually, he has an American accent. Well, that's a cool thing too, because a lot of these Bitcoin initiatives and these local clubs all around the world, they're actually tapping into the diaspora. So like, or diaspora, depending where you are, how you say that. So whether you're from Jamaica, you're from Costa Rica, you are from Nigeria, you're from Kenya, Ethiopia, wherever it might be, you might have family members that are all over the world, in the UK, Australia, Japan, US, Canada, you name it, Curacao, Cayman Islands, all over the place, working for various companies. They're making money or whatever it might be, and they're supporting their family back home. And a lot of the time, traditionally, how this was done was either bank transfers, this was via Western Union, MoneyGram, and so on. But Bitcoiners that are around the world in the diaspora are onboarding their local communities back home, and they're sending funds to them using Bitcoin, of course, Lightning, and then they can go out to the local market and they could spend it. So it's just really cool that a lot of these communities, even though they might be in a particular country, they're actually a global initiative because they have family members that are all around the world. And of course, Bitcoin has no borders, 24/7s, yada, 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 preaching to the choir. So that's just really interesting to show you right there. But also, in addition to that, I wanted to really show you the leading story, if you will, is what's happening with Indonesia. We're going to go to Fetty. We spend a lot of time talking about Costa Rica and South America and all the amazing things that's happening in Latin America and so on. But we're going to go all the way over here and make sure this is actually showing. Yes, we're going to go all the way over here to show you where Indonesia is. The reason why I'm going up to Europe first, in case you're wondering, like, why is this guy showing this? This is the Netherlands, way up here, and Indonesia, which was pre-World War II and a Dutch colony, is all the way over here by Australia. So Indonesia, massive country. Uh-oh, where'd it go? There we go. Indonesia. Highlighting that. Normally with this, it should, when you click a country, it should highlight the country. Maybe it's because I'm zoomed in too far. Is that what's going on here? Let's see. Not sure why it's not just highlighting the specific islands. But anyways, Indonesia is all the way over here, a chain of islands, if you will. By the way, shout out to Hani and Audit, some of the Wolf crew. They made the trip all the way from over there. But anyways, we got a lot of little history about Indonesia. But anyways, going back to this story, this topic at hand, I know I get so distracted, but they are working with Fetty. So Fetty found a very innovative way because, well, actually, believe it or not, in Indonesia, only the local government currency is the only officially sanctioned legal tender that can be used for commerce and all these different things. So, what they actually did, they found a hack, an interesting way to use Bitcoin without violating the law, and that's using Bitcoin as community points, if you will. So what Fedi actually did, they have a initiative that teaches people all about Bitcoin. They're learning about circular economies. They're getting the education with the finance and all those amazing things that we like to speak about. But interestingly enough, again, this is not branded as like a replacement for the local currency. This is not something that's like overturning government or anything of that nature that would just scream out all sorts of trouble for them. What they're actually doing is just showing the benefit of these quote unquote community points using this app. So you're using an app, the interface to actually rack up these community points, which happens to be sats, that can be used within the community to support local businesses, local tourist efforts, and so forth. And I just find it very, very interesting in which they did this. And let me see if I can find the official. Here we go. A closed loop system using Bitcoin as community points is basically what they branded it as. And it's just really interesting. They have a 3-page, is this 3 or 4 page white paper? 4-page white paper. All the details, if you will, are actually on the first 3 pages. But kind of difficult here to see this, but definitely check this out. This is Bitcoin as a closed loop community point system, and just the description for this. You can look this up. This is like the white paper again. Like I said, it describes in how this technology works. Now, again, the language in which they use is very specific. They tell you to make sure that you understand the local jurisdictions, the laws, you're compliant with all money laundering and doing legal activities, doing legal activities such as not selling drugs and buying drugs and all that stuff. It's all outlined in here. But this was originally launched in 2024 as a test program for it, and it's supposed to be a 1-year program. However, it's still going on right now. It's going strong. As you can see, the objective of this is to support the technology, to support the community, support the local businesses, and support tourism. So that right there, to any government official that might be, I guess you would say, hands off a little bit, have their reservations, a little skeptical about this Bitcoin stuff, you tell them that you're supporting the local community, local businesses, and local tourism. Automatically, you kind of got the green light to go forward. And of course, they're being compliant. They're not anarchists trying to throw over the government or anything. They're just trying to better lives, right? Bitcoin improves lives. Therefore, it is being received with open arms and various workshops, various things. And of course, this is just explaining all the limitations and how the technology actually works, going into it, and like the difference between the Fedi app and how they're using this as a community point system, as opposed to just, an open free for all system, if you will. You actually, it is not a custodial app. You still have custody of it. It's teaching you of the difference between self custody and custody, but the way in which they layered it, it really is a hack. So any jurisdiction that might have Bitcoin outlawed as tender, that might be trying to adopt or start a community center and so forth, I think would be highly beneficial to just look up what's happening here in Indonesia. And they talk about the onboarding process, how they're doing all this, how they're staying compliant in the local laws where only the local Indonesian currency is legal tender and can be used. But they're doing all of these different things, and they're doing these initiatives, these workshops, they're bringing people in. And obviously, this is a voluntary program. These are participants that have opted into this system, of course, not being forced on anyone. And it's legal. It's been going on now for 2 years and going strong. Again, it was supposed to be a 1-year test pilot, if you will. And it is still going on right now. So just check that out. Really interesting stuff here. This actually outlines all the islands and all the different, I guess you would say, parts of the ecosystem within it. So the Indonesian Bitcoin ecosystem is quite vast, multiple islands. I mean, look at this. There are probably thousands of islands. I know for a fact there's hundreds of islands. It might be thousands. I should have looked this up before I started, but there are a lot of islands in Indonesia. These are just, of course, highlighting all the main ones. And yeah, all these various little communities and groups and so on are a part of it. And I think it's just absolutely amazing. These are just some really cool things that are happening. It highlights the tech, all the partners and so on. But most importantly, all of the local communities that are being positively impacted by Bitcoin. I think that is hands down the most important part of all of this. It is something that's really cool. Now, this is something that I also thought was cool. Saturday market, a blueprint for cross community adoption. Now, Sats Saturday, right? So on Saturdays, they go into the market, they do all sorts of different things. Of course, there's education options and various things, but the lifestyle and the hobbyist community, of course, doing that, connecting all of these different things, the social impact organizations that they're working with, entrepreneurial networks. There are professional educational groups and community centers and all these different things that are all bridging together for this common cause of making their communities way better. And they just happen to be using this amazing thing that we like to call Bitcoin, right? So, again, the point of this show is highlighting all these positive stories all around the world. And I think this is just a beautiful thing where a country with a massive population such as Indonesia could, or not just could, but does have these amazing communities that highlights what's going on here with Bitcoin. Now, another story that we're going to hop over to, which I find very, very interesting, is this right here. Now, this bridges it all together, the technology, if you will, with the circular economies and also some good news. So, those of you that have been following, Bitcoin payments have been turned on in Square by default. So let me just play this video right here. So as you can see right there, paying that was very quick. Let's just see it again. Okay, so the reason why I want to take the moment to highlight that and really share why I think that is so cool that this has been turned on as the default, right? It is the fact that people, most people all around the world, doesn't matter what it is. It could be the default operating system, the default app. So, for example, if a phone comes already pre-installed with a particular app, a particular browser, most people are just going to use that. That is exactly how Windows became like the default across PCs, right? It was the operating system and the program that came, excuse me, installed on their PC. So, although if you actually do the research, Linux is by far the best operating system that, at least that I know of. All the supercomputers that are, landing rockets and doing all the stuff, sending people to Mars, they're running Linux. But why is it that the vast majority of people are either running Windows or Mac? It's because it's the default, right? When you buy your hardware, it's either going to come defaulted with either Windows or it's going to come defaulted with Mac. Most people don't switch out. So if you're in the iPhone world, you're probably using Safari, right? As your browser. It's a terrible browser. Like, I'll just be honest, 100%. Like, most times when you're going to certain websites, like it'll even tell you use something else because it's Safari is not supported on this. But anyways, this is just an opinion. Anyways, default is the reason why I'm talking about this. Even when you go to something such as a countries in which where you have like the organ donor list, for example, it's by default you're an organ donor. Would you like to opt out of it? So in the States, for most jurisdictions that I know of, anyways, in the States, it says, "Would you like to be an organ donor?" Right, and there's very, very low percentage of people that opt into it. Now, in the countries where it says you're getting your driver's license, you are by default an organ donor. Would you like to opt out of it? You find that it goes up by like magnitudes of the amount of people that are willing to be organ donors. Because again, most people stick to the default operation of whatever they're being offered. Now, it's really funny because you go from the extreme thing of using a browser or the simple thing of using a browser or the extreme of donating your organs, the default is what people stick to. So with the case of this, why this is actually important that it's actually on by default is that people aren't going to go into the settings to go and turn that off. Most people aren't. Of course, the Bitcoiners, those of you that are tuning into this on a Saturday afternoon, if you're using Square, yes, you're going to do this. But the average merchant who's selling t-shirts, lemonade, rocks, whatever you name it, they're selling and using and accepting Square. They're not going to go seek out Bitcoin payment options and tap into that. Most people don't even know that. Whether if you're using a Samsung phone, for example, you go in there, there is actually blockchain functionality within Samsung phones to secure passwords and all this stuff. And there's like a blockchain vault in there. All the newer Samsung phones, it's in there, but you have to go into the settings to actually find it. Nerds, techies such as myself, we do that. But guess what? 99.99% of people that have a Galaxy aren't going to do that, and they'll never see that option. So, anyways, going to the whole thing, this being the default, it is on. I think that's just an amazing thing. Just shows Jack Dorsey and Square and like that whole crew's commitment to Bitcoin as an ecosystem. I think is just absolutely amazing. So I just want to highlight that right there. So it bridges everything together. Of course, the adoption, the technology, and the circular economies. This happens to be in Square. And those of you that are tuning in from the US, like that is a platform that you can all get onto. So if you're a small business offering services and so forth, check that out. It's in your settings right now. Or I should say, it will be enabled across the entire network, but it is something that your Square system is already set up for. Now, the last thing I will just hop into, which I didn't even have pulled up here, so I'm gonna have to paste this in here, and hopefully it loads up. Nope, nope, that is not it. Let me see here. Did I just close that out? The wrong thing. Let me see if I could pull this up. I'm trying to pull up a video, which I thought was absolutely amazing, that shows the power of Bitcoin. I just remembered as I was speaking when I was talking about connecting, and I'm going to go there right now. There we go. This is something that I personally posted out just a couple days ago, maybe yesterday. So I'm going to play this video, pull this up, and I think this explains Bitcoin in like 30 seconds. It's actually a 2-minute video, but in 30 seconds, it explains Bitcoin way more simply and beautifully and powerfully than I could say an entire workshop with a whole bunch of people. So, anyways, check this out right here. All right. See? So that is the 30-second version. Now the 60-second version stretches it out just a little bit. Okay, so whether you are watching the 60-second version or the 30-second version, I think that is just a powerful way of sharing and highlighting the power and the beauty of what's going on here with Bitcoin. Because you can sit here, you can talk about self sovereignty, you can talk about the tech. Nobody can take it. You can pound on the table until you're blue in the face, until you're just out of words, and people just do not care. Like generally speaking, people do not care until it's a problem for them. However, a 30-second video such as this, you see the raw emotions. And the reason why this is actually very, very important is because there's conflict all around the world right now. And a lot of people are thinking about their own safety. Like, wow, could that happen here? Could this happen where I'm living? And all of these different things. So this is a good time we can start that conversation. And rather than, start hammering away at the white paper and Satoshi's vision, and all this stuff, and just hammering maxi philosophies, if you will, which is very difficult to do because like most people, again, over their head. The default is to just use their fiat currency, and going back to the original stories, right? Is just continue. Ignorance is bliss. Like, no, like, why am I going to take the time to learn this thing? So if you just say, hey, check this video out, it's 30 seconds, like opens up the conversation. So as you saw, the 60-second version, a little bit more graphic, gives you the little history of World War II, what actually happened there when they took away the gold and all those different things. But truthfully, you can go to multiple places in history where that actually happened, and not just in Germany. This happened literally all across the world. And you can see examples of this. And most people don't really care or think about that because they are most likely, if you tuned into this, you're probably living in a pretty stable country, pretty friendly environment where your life is pretty good, like generally speaking, right? So it's hard to convince people about all the atrocities and dangers that can have it happen if you don't have your freedoms and your self sovereignty, and what can happen even if you have gold, without them ever caring or even listening, because they just think you're crazy, right? You're just an extremist. Might as well have a bunker with like 4 years of tin supplies, and you're living in a silo with a tinfoil hat, preparing for the aliens and nuclear war. That's how they hear you, right? So you show them a video like this, and I think it just hits home. It just hits right in the heart. And I think it's a beautiful video. So check that out. This is Bitcoin is Better. This is their page right here. But that video that they actually put out, I think is just beautiful. I shared it on my page, and yeah, if you're looking for something to share to someone and just really, without going all technical and stuff, and say, hey, why do we care about this Bitcoin thing, this orange stuff? Are we just crazy people that are just nerds on the internet that love to hang out with each other? Like, no, check this video out right here, 30 seconds. You can understand why this is important, because this could happen literally anywhere. Everyone doesn't think it's going to happen to them until it does, right? So with that said, I really want to thank you again for spending the last, what is this now, 35, 40 minutes with me, diving into all of these stories. Again, we touched the circular economies, feel good stories, the technology of it all. And as usual, we will be back here every single Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And we'll be tuning into the amazing stories that's happening within the Bitcoin ecosystem. So hopefully you found this uplifting, positive, and check out the schedule. The other Wolf Bitcoin shows, spaces, and content coming at you every single day of the week. Schedule gets published tomorrow. So tune in. We have an amazing space. Those of you that like audio, there's something for you. Those of you that like text, there's something for you. You can read it. Those of you that like video, there's something for you too, whether it's live content such as this is live streaming. So those of you that tune in, yeah, like there's something here for you. So something for everybody. And hey, even if you're not into Bitcoin, you're just into like finances, yes, there's Wolf Financial, there is Wolf Defense. If you're into the defense tech, you're into all areas of this industry or within this world, anything of interest that we can do to make your experience on these platforms better. That's what we try to do. We try to educate, we try to uplift, we try to spread good vibes, but most importantly, we want to add value to you. So we want to thank you for spending the last however many minutes with us. You could be doing a million other things. So really appreciate you. And I will see you in the next one. My name is Taj, and see you later.